We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. This is the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And every single day we come to you, and today we're excited because it's Friday. And you know what that means. Friday is Relationship Q&A. So if you have a question, chat it or text us at 678-200-8996 or right here in the chat. Just put your question in here. This is all about you today. It's a free fall, whatever you want to talk about. I don't care what your relational status is. You may be dating in a committed courtship, engaged, married, maybe you're happy, maybe you're sad, but whatever your situation is, let's talk about it, because what you're going through, I guarantee you, is about 100 other couples.
Oh, yes.
Going through the same thing.
But before we get started, if you're new to the Couples Academy Show, make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you do not miss a show. And also for all of you, make sure when you come on that you are liking, sharing, and subscribing. And when you come on, let us know where you're coming from. Let us know where you're viewing from so that we can acknowledge you and drop your question right away. Even on any day, we like to answer your questions, but especially on Fridays, when you come on, say, hey, my name is so-and-so from so-and-so, here's my question, okay? So that we can jump right into it.
Listen, guys, many of you have been asking me, you've been calling, you've been sending emails in. I'm gonna just take 30 seconds to unpack about the Last Chance Weekend. It is coming up next weekend. It is for individuals who are beyond their capacity to resolve their situation for themselves. You don't have the competence to do it on your own, and you realize that a general practitioner who just deals with regular marriage advice is not enough. You need something more. What we focus on are 3 primary things: your marriage recovery, okay? Your individual recovery, because typically if there's been a betrayal, there's a hurt spouse, there's an unfaithful spouse. Both of you are hurting in 2 completely different ways. So we take the time to go in and talk about the internal surgery that you need to do to get to a place of healing and deliverance. And then we focus on the affair recovery process. I think overwhelmingly the one thing that we hear from most of our clients is, yeah, we went to counseling, but they never really dealt with the affair. They just told us to move past it. Hey, he did it, move on. Yeah, she messed up, just get over it. And you're still holding on to that pain. And we say without dealing with that, you don't have a solid foundation. It's kind of like putting perfume on a pig, right? Pig stinks, so let's just put some perfume on it so the smell goes away. And lipstick, right. But it doesn't work like that. You have to address it, resolve it in order to move forward. So that's what we do in those 3 days. It's a small group, about 4 or 5 couples. It's private. There's a lot of private time we give you. And then there's interactive group time. And I think that in addition, because everybody wants the private time, but overwhelmingly people rave about the wisdom that they gain from the other couples. So that interactive group time is really, really, really pivotal. And so listen, if that's your situation, go to the website. Let's have a conversation and figure out how we can help you out. All right, guys, it's Q&A Friday, so let's get to some questions.
All right, let's jump in. Kelly from Waco, Texas has a question. She says, how do you handle moving on when husband has left you for someone else after 23 years of marriage? I still love him. That's messed up, right?
Wow, that's a serious situation. And I think that a lot of people, unfortunately, are going through that, especially during the pandemic. We're seeing such a high rate of separation and divorce, being, in essence, I'm going to use the word trapped in a household for up to a year, just like the couple we were just with last week who we did the intensive. They hadn't been outside the house in a year.
Wow.
So if you're not in a healthy relationship, it seems like all of those issues escalate to a whole nother level. And sometimes we just want out, we just want to leave. But then there's the pain of having to deal with this all by yourself. And so I guess my question is, and I know you can speak to this because you have many clients that go through this. Did he just leave? Was there a conversation?
Right.
Did you have any type of impactful dialogue to get to the why of his frustration. Is it the same thing he's been saying for years, or did he have a muzzle on his mouth and never said a word and just upped and left, which left you wondering and trying to figure out and questioning why this happened?
Yeah,
there's so much to unpack.
There's a lot of questions to be asked. I mean, I would be wanting to filter through the details to understand if this is something worth fighting for, right? We don't know what the environment was in your overall relationship up, in the 23 years. What have you been going through? Was there secrecy? Was there infidelity? Was there a lot of other issues going on that one day he decided to actually act upon openly what was going on in the first place? And I think those are the questions that come up for me. Wow, we're having some, okay. So what I would say is that at the end of the day, there is still always hope. I have quite a few clients who their spouses have walked out. And there are lots of groups out there that actually are like commitment keeper type groups that will fight for their marriage because in their hearts and in their minds, they know that their spouse is lost and they need to pray circles of prayers around them to get them to open up their eyes. And there have been people that have turned around. There's a story that I shared with one of my clients recently of a woman who was speaking the word over her situation, and she got an inclination in her spirit to just set the table. And so she set the table where her husband would sit, put a plate there, and people thought she was crazy, and she did this for quite a long time. I think it was even a year she did this. And one day he just walked back in the house, okay? And so I'm just making the example that do the work to find out, is this relationship worth saving? What can I do to see if there is a possibility to do that? And if so, take those steps to work on it.
Yeah.
If not, if you look at the situation and you know this is a situation that has been toxic for 23 years, I should have cut this off 23 years ago. And he walked out because there are scriptures in the Bible that says when a sinner walks out, let him go, right? Figure that out before you decide to move forward.
And then I guess the question I have is, when you say he left, did you actually get a divorce? Are you separated? What is the legal status? Because listen, I'm going to tell you something. We have worked with couples where one partner left. They got their own place. They were in a relationship. And then, after that came to an end, there was still some connection between the spouses. And they came back together. They were able to restore their relationship. We work with someone who actually got a divorce.
And then remarried.
And we remarried them.
And that's the work right there.
That's the work.
That's the work. It's, the reconciliation part, because at the end of the day, when somebody steps out and moves into an affair type of a situation, there's always major issues there. It started on a terrible foundation of lying and cheating and someone having an affair with you. And so odds are it's not going to work out well. Those second relationships really have a worse divorce rate than your first marriage. So odds are you could reconcile, but the work is on the other side, dealing with your resentment and your hurt and your healing after bringing that person back into your life.
And to the point, then we go to the next question. When it comes to the work, a lot of times we don't want to do it. We want to pop a pill and we want the pain to go away. We want the other person to do all the heavy lifting so that we don't have to. And when we realize that there's this huge mountain we have to climb, listen, in order to get to your victory, sometimes you're going to have to go through a struggle. You're going to have to go through some serious labor to get to the end goal. And I think it's a mindset thing. Like, you have to have a tough mind and a willingness and a stick-to-itivism to be able to do the work. And this is what we find, that so many people are not strong enough. We're weak.
Yeah.
We're feeble, at least in our minds. And we give up, cave and quit, throw in the towel, and just give all hope away because it's just too hard. It's just taking too long. It's just too tough. Well, what did you expect? Everything in your life is going to take effort to get it, but when you get there, it's a sweet victory.
Let's go to JG, who says, good morning. Can you still be in love with someone after they cheat multiple times? Or is it just him being father to my kids and being together over 20 years, right? That in-love feeling that you think you have, right? Well, maybe it's not even the in-love feeling, but just loving. I mean, the answer is yes, right? You think about we tend to think about infidelity as the ultimate sin, the ultimate betrayal. And there's so many other things that we deal with in our relationship that are hurtful. We love through all of that. We love through so much pain. Think about parents and our children that hurt us. You can love through pain. I think it's about figuring out what's worth fighting for and get busy fighting for it. Is there still hope? Is your spouse willing to do the work? Or is he complacent in just being a cheater and you're complacent in just accepting it?
Yeah.
And I think looking at that would make a big difference.
And I think she asked the question, in love versus love, and that's a whole conversation within itself, because in love is more about a feeling and emotion, and we know that it takes maintenance to maintain that in love feeling. But to love, when we talk about 1 Corinthians chapter 13, that talks about all of the components of agape love, you are able to stick in there during tough times. You have patience, you have endurance, all of those different things. So how is the love showing up? Can you have that type of love? Absolutely. But here's the deal. You don't want to continue to sign up for someone who's unrepentant, who's not willing to change, who's not willing to do the work. Like, they've got to show themselves worthy to be in a committed, healthy relationship if you want it to remain. So these are the things that you got to be mindful of, guys, if you really want to take your relationship to the next level. We have a lot more questions, and we're going to get to them. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to show you this quick this video about the audacity of marriage. Some of you have the book, some of you don't. I'm telling you now, the key to your success is found right here. We'll be right back.
There is an epidemic in our world today concerning marriage. It's not divorce, although that's bad. It's not infidelity, although it's on the rise. The epidemic we are talking about regarding marriage is ignorance. Millions of people are getting married each year, and they have no idea what to do to make the marriage flourish and grow. And we know that God has a place in our marriage, but what does that look like? Whether you've been married for a day, a year, or decades, be assured that there is hope and help for you today that will turn your marriage in the right direction. These well-known relationship experts and authors have devoted their lives to helping couples not only survive the rough patches, but thrive and bloom into something more beautiful than before. You're invited to call now for their book, The Audacity of Marriage, and learn how to overcome common challenges couples face. You'll also receive the DVD series titled The Before, During, and After of an Affair. 3 crucial messages on one DVD dealing with the topic of infidelity and how to prevent it. In addition, you and your spouse will also enjoy individual DVD messages by Hassani and his wife, Danielle. The Marriage Mastermind, The Power of Partnership, teaches how to use the law of agreement to manifest God's best in your life. And Copreneurship, Partnering in Passion and Profit, explores the issues of couples working together at home and work successfully. All of this for a love gift of only $59.99. But that's not all. Hassani and Danielle would like to personally invite you to join them at one of their many nationwide Audacity of Marriage conferences. When you call right now, you will receive 2 tickets valued at $200 each, free. Remember, in almost every marriage, there is a partner suffering from ignorance, and your gift of this book may be just what they need to save their relationship. Call now and get back to the joy of your marriage together. Operators are standing by.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is the Couples Academy show. It's Friday. We're answering your questions. We have quite a few, and we're going to jump right in because you're looking for advice and wisdom about your situation. We're here to give it to you.
Okay, so Noreen is asking, hello, Noreen from South Carolina. My question, after the discovery of an affair, again, after many years, how do you get past the detective phase when every time you look through your partner's phone or emails, there's a suspicious activity? My spouse deletes messages from a recently divorced female coworker to avoid arguments because he knows I'm not comfortable with their too close for comfort interactions. He thinks I need to learn to just get over it because there's nothing going on.
What do you say?
Wow, let me process for a second while I was reading all that. I mean, you know, there's something to be said about getting ourselves under control when we are in detective phase. That is a phase that we go through when we still don't have trust. The discovery is new. There are multiple affairs, and so it's not like this is the first time that you've done it. We've got back on track and we're moving forward. It's more so, yeah, we've been down this road before, and you've cheated again and again and again. So you've literally solidified in my mind that you're not trustworthy. So now, depending on your personality style, if you are an investigator type, because there are others that like to just bury their heads in the sand and they don't want to see, but if you're an investigator type, you start to traumatize yourself with investigating. At the same time, If it's not right for you as a couple, it's just not right. And so here we are participating in activities that's not healthy for the marriage as far as your husband. There should be no conversations with an ex, someone who's a divorced person or somebody who's married. If it's not working for your marriage, it doesn't work for you. And these are the doors that we open that create an environment for infidelity. And since this person has proven that they have an issue with infidelity, it's a no. There should be no interactions with other people. So there's two things going on here. There's you dealing with this detective issue, trying to figure out what's he doing, is he being honest? And it's almost like you're traumatizing yourself. But at the same time, he is still participating in shady activity and deleting it to cover it up.
Well, yeah. I mean, so your question is, how do you deal with being a detective? Mm-hmm. Well, he's hired you as a detective. Mm-hmm. He's employed you because he's living a secret life. He's constantly deleting messages. And so whenever somebody lives a secret, private, compartmentalized life, they will create a natural, well, what are you doing? And what are you hiding? And what's that's all about? Yeah. And so if he wants to deploy you, right, then that means that he should open up his life and live a transparent life.
There you go.
Point blank. And so I how do you get past it? I guess he plays a part in you getting past it. Mm-hmm. Like if your computer and your phone is on lockdown and you intentionally keep me from having access and you're deleting messages, then you've given me a reason to play detective.
Right.
And when you're married, there should be... listen,
how do I get over that? How do I get over playing detective when you're deleting messages?
I don't know.
That you don't want me to see because, quote unquote, it's innocent. There's nothing innocent about hiding things.
I don't think you should get over it, to be honest with you. You shouldn't get over it until he gets over the behavior. Now, how you manage the emotions attached to it is something different. And see, here's the reality. You can't change what he does. You can only change what you do. You can't change how he shows up. You can only change how you show up. And this is why people get individual help to help them through it, because they don't have the strength, the ability, the know-how to be able to navigate through these situations when you want to do the work your spouse doesn't, or they're disconnected, or they're indifferent to transparency in a relationship. So hopefully that helps.
All right, Louisa is asking, good morning from Van Alstyne, Texas. How to have a difficult conversation when things are going great? I'm afraid of bringing negativity in any way, but also want to address the situation.
I think it's all about timing. So if we're in a good place and in a good space, maybe that's not the right time to bring a topic of conversation like that up. But this is why we say you have to, this is why we always talk about the work day and the play day. Like, we're going to say it at Ausium until you actually do it. We say that there's one day a week that you've got to spend together. It's your work day. It's the day that you're working on the relationship. So if there's 168 hours in a week, all we're asking you for is one. What is the best time, the most ideal time where you two can come together uninterrupted in an environment, creating a safe environment conducive for uncomfortable conversations, and we keep the emotions in that conversation, resolve it so that when the conversation is over, we're back to where we were before we started the conversation.
And I want to address this part too, because I know that there are some of you out there that actually try to do that. Like, for many of our clients, that work day becomes a very stressful day when you have one partner that doesn't like to deal with issues, because you have that pairing within each couple. There's one person that likes to dig into the details, get very emotional about it, whether they're heightened emotional or not, but they like to deal with feelings. And then you have another one that does not like to deal with feelings at all. And you usually have that dichotomy within a relationship. And so it really doesn't matter what day you talk about it, that person's always on edge. What I've found is that really helps is asking for permission. I agree with doing on a specific day, right? If it's a great day and you're walking through the park and everything's wonderful, why bring up a situation to bring the whole moment down? Instead, find a time, and you could do that by asking for permission. You know what? You're washing the dishes. There's some issues that I want to talk about. They're heavy, and I know we don't need to talk. We're doing great. I know you don't like to talk about these heavy issues, but I would like permission from you, or to know when would be a good time to talk about some issues. Right? That's you asking permission instead of bombarding somebody like that with it, because their defenses will go right on up.
Absolutely.
With that. Okay?
Absolutely. There's another comment here. I confessed on my own, I'm assuming about an affair, because I was tired of living a lie and did not want to continue to cheat. I think that's admirable. It's interesting. I'm working with a couple right now. It's the same situation. After 10 years of being in an affair relation, after 10 years after the affair, the spouse decided to admit it to their partner, and now they're going through a counseling process. And obviously there was a lot of fear and hesitation and anxiety about doing it. But they're in a better place now and going through a process. So, in addition to dropping that bomb, because it could feel like that, we would really highly recommend you see somebody, in your local area, or if you don't know anybody, just reach out to us so that we can help point you in the right direction, because there's got to be somebody who guides you through the process. We say this all the time. You get on a plane. Would you want to drive that or fly that plane yourself? No. If you don't have the skill set, the training, the know-how, you do not want to trust yourself behind the wheel of a plane. So you need somebody else to take you on a journey to get you to that final destination. We have a video question that came in that I want to go to. Let's see what this Dr. Laura has to say.
Hello, my name is Dr. Lewis, founder of the After I Do Academy. And so my question is, what are some recommendations that you have for couples to do during the pandemic so that they can still keep their relationship happy and fun? A lot of the couples that I see are really struggling with how to balance everything during the pandemic. And so what recommendations do you have of things that couples can do to keep their relationship exciting and fun during a pandemic? Can't wait to hear your answer.
That's a very good question, guys. Very good question. What can you begin to do? Well, we talk about the importance of spending quality time. Now, you're in that house all the time, but it doesn't mean that you're spending quality time. Sometimes you may want to repurpose your household and create sacred space to get away. Like if you have children in the home and it seems like, all right, we're in this house, we're all over the place. Where can we sneak away? Where can we get away? One of the things that Danielle and I have always done is at night when the kids are asleep, we'll just get in the car and go for a drive, or maybe early in the morning we'll do that just to get in a different environment, sip on some coffee, and just talk and connect. We will go for long walks, right? Because we can't go anywhere else. Everything's closed. So we would really embrace nature. I feel like a lot of people really were more committed to the outdoors. We would be more creative when it came to date nights inside the house. So whether we're watching Netflix movies or whatever the case, doing video games, board games, reading a book together, just having deeper conversation. And then depending upon your state, because some people are in states that are in complete lockdown, and others it's just like Corona who? And so everything's still open. It's about being intentional.
Yeah, and I also think, truth be told, right now, the world is the cleanest it's ever been as far as going places. I mean, right when you get up from a table, somebody's wiping it down, spraying it down. And so you can get out, put your mask on, put some gloves on if you need to. Remember, guys, it's social distancing. I think people get it twisted and think I gotta stay in the house. You don't have to stay in the house, just social distance. I think people are mixing up going into a crowded supermarket where there is no social distancing, where you're walking behind other people. They're mixing that up from the opportunity to get out and go to a park and walk, or go to an empty restaurant where they can't wait to serve you hand and foot because they haven't had clients all day. So think outside the box and get out of the house now or never. It's clean out there. The toilets are clean, the bathrooms are clean, everything's clean. Wear your mask and your gloves, bring your hand sanitizer, and get out.
Get out there and do it, guys. Listen, we got one more segment. You've been watching the Couples Academy show. We have a few more questions. We'll be right back after this quick announcement. We're back. This is Friday. This is the relationship Q&A day. Listen, we want to remind you, share, like, and subscribe. There's so many people in your community that need to have critical information to take their relationship to the next level. And you are that conduit. You are that individual. You're the source of inspiration in someone else's life. Isn't it interesting? So many people come to us, and even though they have problems, they say they're the it couple in their community. They're the ones that everyone looks to, yet they have issues going on. And so, listen, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be in an amazing space to share information that may help somebody else.
Okay, we have a comment here from Misty. Discovered after 15 years of marriage, Mr. has had an affair with a married neighbor for past 5 years. He is sorry, but affair is convenient. How do I know it's over, and should we all sit down and talk to bring peace?
Should we all? Should we all? Absolutely, you should all. Okay, first of all, if this is a neighbor, unless you plan on selling your home, packing your bags, and moving away, home life will be a trigger. When you're off at work, okay, in your husband's home, or whatever the dynamics are, you're going to be triggered. You know, how are they communicating? Are they talking over the fence? Are they texting each other? Are they meeting in each other's home? The point is, you have to have this uncomfortable, difficult conversation, and I think all parties need to be brought in. You know, this is no different than, you know, we work with couples where you have couple friends, very, very close couple friends, and one spouse is sleeping with the spouse of the other friend couple, and so everybody knows but the other partner, which is insane. All four parties need to be brought into this. There need to be conversations, and then you need to reevaluate what life looks like. I think the idea of, oh, well, it happened, and you know what, we're going to pray, and we're just going to forgive, and we're going to go back to normal as to the way things was.
I mean, there's just no normal after your spouse has had an affair with the neighbor. This is why infidelity is so traumatic and destructive for your relationship, because there's such a loss. I mean, in this case, it would, for some, they would demand selling the house or moving. I don't know if you're an owner or renting, but moving. Because the thing is that it's too convenient. It was happening already right up under your nose, right next door. And I just don't think a conversation is going to solve anything. If a conversation was going to solve something, you could have had conversations when there was emotions developing, when there was interest developing. The neighbor could have had a conversation a long time ago with you to let you know what your spouse was doing and saying. You see? So I think we're beyond conversation. I think the solution is separation.
Yeah, I think a conversation will not solve anything.
No.
You got to have ongoing conversations where you're constantly dealing with new boundaries, new parameters. So for the people who have the ability to move, bounce. And we've known people who have actually done that.
Put their house on the market and go.
But for those, if that's not practical for you, you need a new norm. There's no going back to the way things were. You need a completely new norm. So I've known couples in this exact situation where the kids, they play with each other. There had to your point, a complete split, a breach. For a long period of time, and then after some healing and some intense counseling and some working through things, then you assess where you are to determine what the best thing is.
I think evaluate your situation and see what's practical and real. Because to me, what we do a lot of times is we do too much accommodating. We do too much accommodating about something that is ridiculous. It's terrible when the affair partner lives in your neighborhood. It's terrible when they're on the other side of town, but you share the same Kroger and Publix, and you have fears of running into the person. But for the person to be a neighbor, to me, yes, conversations, but conversations on how we can split and divide and get as far away from each other as possible to avoid temptation.
And for those couples who've made the decision to actually leave, I know people who didn't only leave out of their subdivision because, to your point, well, listen, when I go to the supermarket, there he is. When we go to the restaurant, there she is. Yeah. So the entire environment is toxic. A trigger.
And here's the triggering part for the one who had the affair is that when you see that person, you still have emotions. Like, just because the affair partner got caught doesn't mean that instantly those feelings and emotions are diminished. They're still there. They're just trying to do the right thing. But now they have to deal with seeing them. Every time you go out to the mailbox, you see them. Every time you go in to get your mail, you see them.
This is ministry, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing we happen if you're serving together in ministry and you're there every single week.
That's right.
And you're
Change church.
So there's a lot. There's a lot. It requires a lot. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question on here. WS here. Please advise on how to deal with emotional needs that are not being met, even before the affair. I tried communicating about it before the affair, but no change. He only focuses on his work. Whoa! What's your thoughts on that, Hasani?
Why are you trying to call me out? See what she's trying to say.
We both have that.
See what happened was.
We both have that. Like we're entrepreneurs, so we work all the time. Mm-hmm. But I have thoughts. I just want to know what your thoughts are on that emotional needs part, because I think we have a good workaround for it.
Well, I'm interested in hearing which.
The way we set aside time.
Well, yeah. So
we set aside time for dates. I mean, we work 24/7, but we also work together. And we acknowledge that our working together does not constitute quality time. It's not the same. I'm working right now, even though I'm sitting next to you and we're in close proximity and I'm actually talking to you. It's completely different than me taking off my work hat and being completely available to you emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. That's a whole nother thing. But it's hard when you're an entrepreneur because your mind is always thinking about the next thing. And I know women deal with that a lot.
For us, before we started our own business, I was working like insanely, and that was a big issue in our marriage. And I was working from sun up to sundown, and I didn't give her any time. I didn't prioritize her. I didn't. And
or the family.
The biggest argument was you don't have any boundaries.
Yes.
You don't know how to say no. You don't know when to let go. So as a man, I'm thinking, okay, I'm a provider, and I think I took a one-dimensional approach to being a husband. It was all about getting the money because, as we told you before, we were in situations where we were broke, busted, and disgusted. Things were being turned off. We had seasons of famine, season of plenty, and so I was in that grind mode. And that became the number one thing, and all the other responsibilities that I had, really came secondary, tertiary, so on and so forth from there. And I didn't give it the amount of time. So it took countless conversations. And then when I heard from other people who have been experiencing the same thing. Isn't it weird how sometimes we can tune a deaf ear to our partner, but we can hear it, see it, and then get the aha moment and wake up when we hear it from somebody else? So it was through prayer, it was through conversations, it was through counseling, it was through going to marriage seminars and being a part of ministries that finally I woke up and I was able to then distribute my time to give more to my wife, to give more to my kids.
And that's when we came up with the color-coded calendar, which we share with everyone.
There it is.
Because we actually tend to work with a lot of couples in business, and so they get that part of it. But that color-coded calendar is a lifesaver so that you can actually prioritize your time and make a hard stop on things, right? When work time is over, stop. What time is it now? Family time, stop. What time is it now? Exercise time, stop, right? You just need to prioritize your life, and that would be a great beginning.
Listen, guys, there's a question that I have that just came through a text. We do not have time to address it. I'm gonna read it, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this into an actual topic for Monday. So listen, here's the question. Okay, it says, how can I deal with the resentment and bipolar emotions that come along with healing from my wife's emotional affair? She had a close call relationship with the husband of a couple that we were really close with, same thing as the neighbor. Unfortunately, my friend committed suicide before any of this was ever exposed, leaving a lot of questions and unresolved issues. We're seeing a local counselor who was really wonderful, but she had to skip this week's session, and I was looking forward to getting some progress in this particular space. I want my spouse to hold me, but I'm repulsed when she does. Help. Now, we're talking about emotional triggers. It reminds me of Prince's song, I love you, but I hate you. All of these emotions are wrapped up in one. But we're going to be dealing with emotional triggers and how to manage that when you are in that situation. So listen, guys, we hope you have an amazing weekend. It's Valentine's Day on Sunday. You better do the right thing, because we're going to ask you how that day went on the very next day on Monday. But listen, you've been watching the Couples Academy show. We love you, and we will see you on Monday. Take care.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.